Hello, grade 12. Today's topic is international trade. So, today's topic is an economics topic, which is international trade for grade 12. I'm going to be explaining the reasons for international trade. So, guys, it's very important that you listen very carefully because everything I say is very important. As we begin, the reasons for international trade. There are many reasons for international trade. Countries may have surplus of some goods and shortage of other goods, and they will trade in order to correct these imbalances. For example, South Africa has more minerals than it can use, but less oil than it needs. Certain goods are only produced in specific countries. For example, French champagne, and the citizens of other countries may desire access to those goods. Droughts can severely damage the production of staple crops in a country, resulting in the need to import crops to feed the population. Demand reasons. So guys, during my time when I was doing grade 12, this one appeared on the essay. So guys, it's very important that you remember what I'm teaching you right now, or you can even cram it if you are a master of cramming. Demand reasons. The size of the population impacts demand. If there is an increase in population, it causes an increase in demand. Obviously, there are more of us now because there are more of us who demand certain products. Like, for example, let's say many children are born. Obviously, the demand in milk must increase. I'm just making an example. As more people's needs must be satisfied, local suppliers must not be able may not be able, by the way, not be able to satisfy their demand. Local suppliers may not be able to satisfy this demand. Obviously, we know what's going to happen after that. The price will increase, but it doesn't talk about that here. So the size of the population impacts the demand. I think you may remember this one because it's very straightforward. You can even write it down. The size of the population impacts the demand. As more people, there's no need to actually write it the same way I'm telling you right now. I can explain like this: when population increases, it causes the demand. I was just trying to explain it in different terms, but you got it. You got the point, right? The population's income levels affects demand. The population's income levels affect demand. Changes in income causes a change in demand for goods and services. An increase in per capita income of people results in more disposable income that can be spent on local goods and services, some of which may then have to be imported. Changes in income causes a change in demand for goods and services. For example, if let me make an example. If maybe the government decreases the income of many people, obviously the demand of goods will also decrease because people won't have enough money to spend. So yeah, it's how it's function. So when the salaries increase, many people will demand more goods. So the population income levels affects demand. You can remember that one also. An increase in the wealth of population leads to greater demand for goods. People have access to loans and can spend more on luxury goods, many of which are produced in other countries. An increase in the wealth will make people demand more luxury goods. Obviously, when you have money, especially too much money, you demand more luxury goods like gold and platinum, things like chains. Like most of us like to wear chains. Preferences and taste can play a part in determining of prices. Example, customers in Australia have preference for specific products which they do not produce and need to import, and it will have a higher value than in other countries. Like for example, as I myself like to wear chains, so chains are not actually produced in South Africa. Many of them, they are produced in the States. So this South Africa have to import them from the States, and I will buy the chains. Like many of people demand chains anyway, especially rappers. The differences in consumption patterns. is determined by the level of economic development in the country, e.g., poorly developed country will have a high demand for basic goods and services but lower demand for luxury goods. So guys, there's no need to remember 5 of them, but you can just remember 4 of them. Just try to memorize 4 of them. Supply reasons. Natural resources are not evenly distributed across all countries of the world. They vary from country to country and can only be exploited in places where these resources exist. Natural resources. We all know that natural resources cannot be found anywhere in the world. Some of the countries struggle for natural resources. Like the one people use for coffee, we can only find in Ghana. I think it's cocoa or something like that. Yeah, so that's also a natural resource. Climatic conditions make it possible for some countries to produce certain goods at the lower price than other countries. Brazil is the biggest producer of coffee, and also Ghana is also gives away cocoa to use for coffee. By the way, don't check it out. But Brazil is the biggest producer of coffee because of climate conditions. Labor resources differ in quality, quantity, and cost between countries. Some countries have highly skilled, well-paid workers with high productive levels. Differ in quality. Labor resources differ in quality, quantity, and cost between countries. Some countries have highly, and that's true. Some countries have highly skilled, well-paid workers with high productivity levels, e.g., Switzerland. Technological resources are available in some countries that enable them to produce certain goods and services at a lower unit cost. For example, Japan. Specialization is in the production of certain goods and services allows some countries to produce them at a lower cost than others. Japan produces electronic goods and sells these at a lower price. So the one that says specialization, I'll advise you not to even memorize it. Just memorize the 4 others. And there's also the one for capital, but I won't say it. You can just search for it on your textbooks. It's there. The effects of international trade. Specialization increases the standard of living. So when you talk about specialization on the effects of international trade, it increases the standards of living, especially when the area of specialization is in a greater demand due to a shortage of supply. For example, Angola has oil, so it can specialize in oil products. Mozambique has no oil resources and cannot specialize in these resources. Mass production becomes possible if the domestic demand is added to foreign demand. So when you talk about the mass production, it becomes possible if domestic demand is added on foreign demand. Example, manufacturing of cell phone. Efficiency increases when there is competition. So this one is also easy to remember. Increases when there is competition. That's efficiency. Lower prices means that the same income can buy more goods and services. Globalization is driven by international trade. So when you talk about globalization, we talk about international trade. You can also remember this one. It's driven by the international trade in IT, products and vehicles, cars and trucks. So that's it about international trade that you need to know. So the demand reasons and supply reasons, it always works like this. They don't usually come together and they don't usually appear together on a say. They won't and demand them to get together. Like they won't say write down the demand reasons and supply reasons most of the time. They will just make you choose one. So that's the tricky part. So you can just remember, try to remember one of them. In fact, all of them, because one of them is gonna come out, especially in September when you are writing your paper. It's going to come out. So that's the international trade. So guys, before I just close this video, I want to tell you guys how to write an essay, because most of you don't know how to write an essay. Which are the basics? For example, introduction, you do not include your introduction in any part of the question, and you do not repeat any part of the introduction in the body. That's very important, guys. Include other sentences to support the topic. That's introduction. And what I could say about conclusion: a brief summary of what was discussed without repeating facts already mentioned. Any opinion or value judgment on facts already discussed. That's conclusion. So in the body, you must discuss or critically discuss, analyze, compare, evaluate, distinguish, differentiate, all of these things. And that's the main part. And in the additional part, you must give your own opinion. That's also important on getting higher marks. You must give your own opinion and critically discuss also there. So that's how you write an essay, guys. So guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video and share the video, so that other learners will get the same information that you got today, even though I explain it in different terms, which English is challenging sometimes. But anyway, yeah, subscribe and like the video and share the video. Peace.